Hi, ladies. Last week, we talked about how to become a powerful communicator. And if you haven't watched that video, you can go over to the previous video and watch this when you're done. I promised you that I was going to teach you how to tell your story so powerfully that people cannot help but connect. And that's what we're going to be doing today. If you're new here, my name is Paula Poe. I'm a lawyer and personal branding strategist for ambitious African women like you. I help you show up and take up space in all the many ways that are available to you today on the internet. Truth is, many people understand that stories are necessary, however, they are telling those stories wrong. And a tool is a tool that you can use in any way you want. So if you're using it in the wrong way, you will not get the results that you actually want or expect. So you find that people are telling stories online, but it's either they are telling stories about things that don't matter, they're oversharing random personal moments, or they're trying so hard to sound inspirational that they actually lose their audience. But the thing is, your story is not necessarily about your childhood or your trauma or your entire journey. It's about who you are, what you do, why you're doing what you do, and how that concerns your audience in the first place. Your story is about how you connect what you're doing to the transformation your audience is looking for. So, in this video, I want to help you tell the story that actually moves your brand forward. The kind that connects with people, the kind that connects people to your brand's mission, and the kind that positions you as a voice that people can trust. Number one, start with your brand mission. Every personal brand has a mission. You are a brand because you're trying to get something done in the world. You are a brand because you have something you're trying to put out into the world. You're trying to help someone with something that you have, with your experience, your education, your positioning in your industry. You have something that you want to give. Now, there's a reason why you want to give that thing. There's a reason why you don't want to keep it all locked up inside you. There's a reason why you have chosen this particular set of people or this particular type of person to help. Your brand mission is at the intersection of all of these things. So before you tell your story, you have to ask yourself, what is the core thing that I want people to remember about me? You have to be clear on your mission before you can tell the story that supports that mission. So, for example, my brand mission is I help women show up confidently online so that they can take up space, so that they can help other people that they are destined and created to help, so that they can create the life and businesses that they actually want, not the one they were told to have. Every story that I share about myself supports that. Everything that I tell you about my personal life is not just random. It is so that you will understand what I do and why I do it. Because this mission is what keeps me showing up every single day. And if you're not clear on your mission, one day you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel like showing up for your brand. It is that mission, that North Star, that will keep you positioned, that will keep you showing up even on the days when everything is falling apart. And when you're clear on that mission, you will start looking at your stories and choosing your stories through the lens of that mission. Everything that happens to me in the course of the day, I filter through, will this help my audience? Can I use this to teach something to my audience? Has this thing happened to me so that I can help somebody get through it? But if you're not clear on the message you're trying to pass, and therefore your mission, you're not going to be able to tell which stories need to be told and which ones need to just wait for girls' night. If you teach financial freedom, for example, your stories should be geared towards showing people how you freed yourself financially and how you therefore you can help them. It should be geared towards showing how you became a financial expert. It's not necessarily a school story, but it can be maybe you served under someone or you faced abuse because of lack of financial freedom and you found a way to free yourself. Basically, you must have found what you're helping others find. So your stories should support how you came to be able to help others find the thing that you're saying you can help them find. That was long-winded, but you get what I'm saying. Every powerful story is anchored in a bigger mission. This thing is beyond you. It's really not about you. It's about what your story represents. So every time you tell a story, there should be a bigger picture. There should be a bigger vision. You're trying to do something here. That thing you're trying to do should be clear to your audience. It should be clear, first of all, to you so that you can clarify it to your audience so that they can decide immediately and quickly enough whether they want to buy into you or not. Number two, clarify your turning point moment. Now, there is a pivotal point in your life where you decided you are no longer going to be where you're coming from and you're going to become the woman who is where you're headed. If, again, back to our financial freedom example, you, the woman that became financially free, wasn't always financially free. There was something that happened that made you think, I don't want to live like this anymore. This is not the life I want for myself. This is not how I want to be forever. I've got to change this. That is a turning point moment. That story is powerful because that is what shows your personal transformation and therefore mirrors the transformation that your people want to see in themselves. It's usually something like this, a challenge that forced you to grow. I remember when my child was around 1 year plus, right? I gave birth to him in 2018. This was 2019, and I was struggling. I was operating way below capacity. And I always kind of knew my capacity. I just knew that I wasn't living up to it. I wasn't being disciplined. I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't holding myself accountable. I was running away from accountability. That version of me could never have had almost 100 episodes on her podcast, could never have had almost 200 videos on her YouTube, could never stay consistent. However, I looked in the mirror and I saw that this was not the person that I had planned on becoming. I had become this selfish, self centered, lazy version of myself. And I knew with a clarity, I'm telling you, that that was not a mom my child was going to respect. Now, did I instantly start bossing up and change my life and in the next 2 weeks get two businesses, start building an organization, start building a podcast? That's not how it works. But from that moment, I realized that I had to build myself into the kind of woman that could have the things that I actually wanted. And that kind of woman was not waiting around for somebody to come and save her or for somebody to come and give her what she wanted. So I started working on myself. That was the primary transformation that happened to me. And so immediately I started doing the things that I said I would do. I started reading the right books, listening to the right podcasts. I started to watch the right videos. And interestingly, that evolved into me pouring out through those same mediums. I started writing to the woman I used to be. I started speaking on my podcast to the woman I used to be. I started creating videos like this to help ease the people's journey, people that want to go from where I used to be to where I am and where I'm headed. So that's a challenge. That's where something changed for me. It could be a risk you took that paid off. Now, at that point, I realized that if I wanted to be someone, if I wanted to change things in the world, I had to put myself out there. I cannot tell you how scary it was announcing that I was going to start a YouTube channel. I come from conservative middle belt Nigeria. We don't put ourselves on camera. At least we didn't do that back in 2019. We didn't show up and just start talking to the camera. Why are you trying to attract attention to yourself? Why are you trying to get people to see you? I'm coming from a place where sharing your thoughts online was ridiculous. And I remember the comments I would get when I started because they didn't understand what I was doing, understandably. Nobody around there was doing anything like that. And so I would get remarks like, oh, how is that internet thing you're doing? Very dismissive. And that is where the name of my book came from. When I was writing that book for the woman I used to be, for the young woman who is trying to find her place in the world, who is trying to do the best with what she has, and I was trying to share my experiences and share my processes so that she wouldn't have it as difficult as I did, I thought of the name, the best name that I could find was that phrase that I kept getting when people didn't understand what I was doing or why I was doing it, when people were dismissive of my trying to be a part of the creative economy. So that was a turning point for me, and I attached it to one of the most important brand assets that I now have, my first book, because I understand the power of a story, and that's what I want for you as well. Putting myself out there was a risk, but that is a risk that keeps paying off. My life changed dramatically when I started owning my opinions and sharing them. Every time I turn on the camera or I write a post or I put out a podcast episode, something tries to stop me because this resistance never stops. It is always a risk putting yourself out there, but I can tell you very firmly that it pays off and it will keep paying off beyond your wildest dreams. It could be a realization that shifted your direction. I told you about realizing that I wasn't living up to my full potential. And let me tell you, I still wake up some days like that. I still wake up and know that I'm not doing the most. I might be doing some, but I'm not doing the most. So realizations like that could change your direction. Now, since I started showing up online, I have had many realizations, and I share these stories because I find these things every day, and I have committed to sharing my journey so that yours can be easier. For example, when I realized that podcasting was going to be huge, I decided to start a podcast. But did I start that podcast the moment that realization hit? No, I didn't. I waited 1 full year giving excuses, listening to the voices that said people like me didn't do things like that, and listening to the voice that was saying, oh, in the past I have been inconsistent. I will just go and fail again and show people how inconsistent I can be. But even though I didn't start as immediately as I could have, I started. Now we're going to hit 100 episodes before the year runs out. I'm telling you that your realizations are a part of a bigger picture that you need to look at and turn into your story so that your audience can connect with you. So think about yours. What was the moment that you said something has to change for me? I'm not going to be this way for the rest of my life. I'm not going to stay stuck. I'm not going to be mediocre. What was your turning point? Find that and hold on to it. Number three, keep it focused. Many people think because we say, oh, storytelling, personal branding is a lot of storytelling, that we want to hear about your ramblings. I promise you, people are just looking for solutions. And it doesn't have to be a big, gigantic, impactful solution. It can just be, what do they do next? And so when you tell your story, you must have an end result in place. Be focused on who you're trying to help. Now, I could have come on here with a breakfast story for you. Oh, I try to have a very light breakfast. That's just how I do it. I'm not a health person. I know they say breakfast is the healthiest thing, but I had coffee. How would that have helped you? However, if I come and let you know that I'm a very routine person, I have my coffee at a certain time and I make sure I'm at my desk at a certain time and it works for me, I'm giving you insight into my process and something that makes me productive. Same story, different ways that they're being told. Whatever story that you tell should have the end goal of helping, of opening their eyes, of giving insights, of showing your process, right? So just telling a story for storytelling's sake might get you to be entertaining, and sometimes that is good. But if you're a brand builder, 90% of what you put out should have an end goal in mind. So tell the story that makes your point. Tell the story that makes a point. Now, still on this, use simple language. One of the things that my clients get to tell me is, oh, I feel like I don't have the vocabulary to turn on the camera and start talking. Let me tell you, we don't even want the big language. How many big words have I used in this video? People are not looking for you to sound intellectual. They're looking for you to say something that they understand. So most experts make the mistake of insisting on using industry jargon without remembering that they're not talking to industry people. So a lot of times we make the mistake of talking to our peers like they understand the jargon that is used in the industry, but you're talking to people that are outside of your industry to whom you are the experts. Also, try to make it visual. When you're telling a story, try to make people be able to imagine it. So, for example, I could have said, one day I woke up and hit rock bottom and decided to change my life. However, I tell you, I was standing in front of the mirror. My kid was a little over a month old. You're imagining this thing with me. I'm looking smack at the mirror and I'm seeing myself, but what the person in the mirror is not the person I had imagined myself to be at this age, at this stage in life. Okay, so I'm making it easy for you to imagine this place I was in. When you're telling your story, make it easy for people to imagine. Number four, focus on transformation, not perfection. You see this thing where we're trying to be the most aesthetic, the most knowledgeable, the most intuitive, insightful version of ourselves. We're all human, right? We're all human, and humans expect to deal with humans when they're dealing with a personal brand. People don't care about your success as much as they care about your process, your becoming. This personal branding thing is about the becoming. I have followed some people from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, And I see them now, and I remember where they were when I started following them. And even though they are strangers to me, I've never met them in person, their growth fills me with joy. Knowing that even though maybe even what I followed them for, they're no longer doing it, the fact that I witnessed that growth changes so much for me. It makes me attached to them. I want to stick around and see how this person glows up. But most of the time, because they are growing and I am growing, I still need what they have to offer. Show your process, show where you were and where you are right now. I speak repeatedly about how my first YouTube video was nothing close to what this is. I had zero confidence and zero surety in my voice and what I wanted to say. I couldn't speak for this long without stammering or filler words. I was terrified of my own voice. So after editing, I would never go back to that video. I would never edit or play a video where my husband or anybody who knew me was around. That changed because of practice. And I've shared that story because I know that you're probably going through the same thing. I know that you are probably thinking, nobody must hear this annoying voice of mine. They say that accepting your nose is the first step to self love, but I'm telling you, accepting your voice is another level. Now, I used to be terrified to show up with my opinions and to speak on camera and to put my voice out there. Now, I teach women how to do that. I want you to see that there is a space where the transformation happened, and that space is what I guide people through. That space is what I come here to teach week after week. I speak on the podcast week after week. I write on Substack week after week about the process of becoming, because this process took years. This process takes years. I wrote a book about the process. I constantly create courses and programs to help you through this process of becoming. The bridge from where you used to be to where you are now. That is what makes your story powerful. You can never get tired of telling it. Now, number 5, I have touched on this before, but end with a lesson. Let there be some takeaway. In a story, you will find people will take different things away. So when you're telling your story, have the exact thing you want them to take away from it. When people hear your story, be clear on what you want them to hear. Be clear on the action you want them to take. Even if it is not a specific action, be clear on the direction that you're telling that story to point them in. This is what sets your personal brand apart. You will find two people who have the same experiences and have the same educational background and have the same, life background, do two different, distinctively different things with their personal brands, because it is about perspective and direction. I can tell you a story that will lead you to this direction. Somebody else will tell you that same story leading in a different direction. There's no right or wrong. Please remember that. There is you and your unique experiences. There is you and your unique impact. So when you tell stories, close them with what you learned, what you think they should take away from it, how it changed your life. Make sure that you wrap up your story. There's a reason for every story. Give it. Your story is what makes people decide whether or not they will buy into you. And that's really what a follow is, a listen, a subscription, anything that makes people join your community or join your audience or join your mission. That is people buying into your idea, the idea of you. By the way, have you guys watched that movie? The Idea of You is one of my favorite movies. It's a Annie Hathaway that I've loved since Princess Diaries. And there's this new guy, maybe he's not that new, but he's the guy in Purple Hearts. Anyways, the idea of you is what people buy into. What I want you to take away from this video is to tell your story and tell it well. If you want a practical guide, I have an entire module on storytelling in the Big Yes course that is designed to help you tell powerful stories, complete with templates. I have over 20 stories that you can tell. If you're not sure you're ready to dive into the course, if you're still trying to find your way, find your mission, find your thing, I have a free worksheet. It's called What's Your Big Yes? Because you have to say yes to the idea of your being a brand before you start showing up like one. So you can find clarity using that free worksheet. It's in the description. So here's to telling your story and building your brand with clarity, conviction, and confidence. Don't forget to do all the good stuff that YouTube likes. Like the video, drop a comment, subscribe, share this with a friend. Join the community in all of the ways. Links are in the description, and I will see you next week. Bye.